I'm wondering how to take inspired ideas and not turn them into intense effort.
Perfect question. You wait till the next inspiration, and the next inspiration, and the next inspiration. You only follow the inspired inspiration.
I'm already impatient. Like listening to this, I'm already impatient. I want to jump into action, which ultimately is going to lead to some type of discomfort.
So the first order of business is you have to accept that you're going to receive inspiration and be willing to follow it, and right now you're not. Right now you really have a strong belief that it's hard work and action that makes things happen. And we're not trying to talk you out of action, because action is a big part of how things come together. It took action for you to get here. Action matters, but inspired action is so life-giving, while the action of struggle is life-taking. This receiving mode that we're talking about, it's not just receiving impulses and ideas and good timing, it's also the replenishing mode. It's where you get refueled and reinvigorated and re-excited and reignited and restored and renewed, you say. Most people offer the majority of their action compensating for energy that they messed up. They didn't get in alignment, they didn't get in sync, and then they're offering action to try to make up for it. It's like vacuuming your house without plugging the vacuum in. Going through all the motions. Did you vacuum the living room? Yes, I did. Every square inch of it. How come it looks terrible? I don't know. I didn't miss one spot. That vacuum cleaner was on every spot of this entire place. So what does that contrast in acknowledgement, what does it cause you to ask for? What clarity did you just throw in the vortex, maybe without even knowing you did? What did you throw in there? I want to be more aware of my guidance. I want my guidance to be more obvious to me. I want to follow that guidance, and I want payoffs. I want big payoffs. I want my guidance to pay off so that I know it, because I want to understand how this stuff works. Because that's what the question is. I want to know how this works, because you just said what I got going on isn't working out that well. I'm working too hard. And if I'm not working hard, even when I am working hard, I'm frustrated that my action isn't getting the job done. And we say that's because the vacuum cleaner isn't plugged in. You got to tune in to this energy that creates worlds and then flow it toward things that matter to you. So what are you working so hard on? See, what happens is it really is all right, because everybody sort of does this too. We ask you to just let us know how we can help. Give us a question, we'll give you an answer. But instead, you felt it important, and a lot of people do, to explain the whole scenario and justify why you haven't been able to do it better on your own. Sort of like, I'm not sure I should be asking this, and I've been trying so hard, and I have this thing that I want so much, and I've been working on it, and finally I've just decided to let it go. None of that is what we ask you. We don't want you to let go of everything, because you got to go to work, and you might want to finish that project, and there's people in your life, and then you have commitments and responsibilities and things, and we don't want you to just let go of everything. That would be unpleasant. We want you to set aside 15 or 20 minutes early in the day where you can let go of thought. Just for that little bit of time, just let go of thought, because you've been scrambling around and you've put a whole lot of questions that have a whole lot of solutions that are ripe and ready for you to receive, but you're hammering so hard on the questions that you can't let the answers in. So we just want you to let go long enough so you can just let one impulse in, that's all. We don't want all the answers to all your questions to come at once. You'd want to kill yourself. If everything that you've been asking for, all of a sudden the universe said, he's ready, dump it. You couldn't even function in that kind of an information download. You'd go hide under your bed and you wouldn't come out for a long, long time if that kind of information came to you at all at once. So you don't really even know where to start. But your inner being knows where to start, because your inner being knows what your resistances are and what the path of least resistance is. And so that's why we speak to you as we do in these gatherings, because we know too. We know that the starting place is you're more than you know, and the other part of you is aware of you and listening all the time. You're more than you know, and the larger part of you is aware of you and listening all the time, and the way you feel is your indication of the harmony or discord between those thoughts. We're starting at the very core basics of where you are. You see what we're getting at? And as you begin to accept that this is why I feel the way I do, and that my inner being really does know what my path of least resistance is. And most of all, my inner being loves me and is rooting for me, not against me. My inner being is wanting to help me to become all that I have vibrationally already become because of the life that I've lived. Which feels like what you'd like to talk with us right now? What interests you the most?
What is the next direction to go in my job, in my career?
Your inner being knows that you can't go to a job that you really love from a job that you really hate. So the next direction to go to where you really want to go is to settle in more satisfaction with where you are. Ooh. Now that feels counterintuitive to a human mind, because a human mind says, Abraham, I told you I don't want to stay here. Why would I do positive aspects about here? Why would I try to line up with right here? Because you can't get to where you want to be from dissatisfaction. You've got to find satisfaction where you are, which will lead you to the next and the next and the next. You hear it? Yes. Most important thing we've ever said to anyone ever. So now your question has modified a little bit, hasn't it? But if you were already of the mindset that you just feel and listen, and the impulse that came to you during meditation was to make a list of positive aspects about your current work, and you were so tuned into your inner being that you were really on the same wavelength as your inner being, it's really interesting. And what you've been witnessing here with 2 or 3 people that we've been talking to is that even when you receive direct answers, you can't hear them and you feel resistance coming up. So what we're getting at is you've got to get yourself into a place where you can hear. The theme of this seminar could be, I can't get there from here. I can't get there from here. Well, of course, that's ridiculous. You can get anywhere from anywhere. But given my current vibration, I can't get to where I want to be, because my current vibration is blocking information that will help me to get to where I want to be. So that's why it's a wonderful thing to come together with a body of people like you and to have some conversations where your questions are in earnest and you cannot hear the answers. And it's because you said it, I'm impatient. You want the answer to unfold in a way that you can see it and hear it and smell it and taste it and touch it. You want a condition to suddenly change, and you observe it so that you can feel a positive response to your observation. That's what conditional life is. That's what almost everybody is doing. And we say that's not going to work. And the desire for that isn't working for anyone. It's just keeping you running around making excuses about why your life isn't more the way you want it to be. Everybody's sort of kind of doing that, when all along you've asked all the questions and all the answers and all the solutions are all queued up. And now you really could, if you can hear us, you really could take this impression and this attitude, this impulse to act, home with you today. And it would go like this. Everything that life has caused me to ask for is known, and it's already answered. And it's a simple process for me to begin receiving specific impulses that will lead me to the full-blown satisfaction of all of these quests. I'm not going to receive it all at once, but I can begin immediately receiving some of the first impulses. And as those first impulses come right away, they will prove themselves to me that they have come from broader perspective and that this is right action for me to take. I don't need to know all of the action that I will take, because I only have the power of now to perform it. I can't perform all of the actions now. I can't go to all of the places that I'll be guided to now. I can only go to the next place that I'm guided to, and then the next, and then the next, and then the next. And that's enough. Because in my now, there is a convergence of the source me and the physical me. And as I meditate and get into that receptive mode and receive an impulse and follow it, then the next will come, and the next will come, and the next will come, and my impatience will go away, and I will find myself living happily ever after as it just keeps unfolding and becoming richer and richer, until you'll reach the place that your receptive mode moment can encompass many things at once. So you'll get an impulse to follow through on something, and several things will satisfy you all at one time. A few flights ago, Esther was on an airplane with a man. He said he was in his 30s, and he was interesting in lots of ways. He had a rather loud voice, and Esther wasn't sure at first if she wanted to have a conversation with him because he only had volume really, really loud. But as they began talking, she found him to be a philosopher and also a scientist and a mathematician and an eager student of life. And so she just let him talk, and then she'd throw in something that she had learned from Abraham that she knew was solid and accurate and at the basis of what he was saying. And he then would stop talking for a moment, and he would close his eyes for a minute, and then he would say, "That's right, and here's why." And then he would give Esther a scientific, mathematical description of why it was right. And then he said, "We should get together more often." Turns out they live in the same town. "We should get together more often because you've caused me to think thoughts I've never thought before that are right." Well, how do you think that came about? And who do you think it benefited? Both of them. And Esther walked away from that, and this is the feeling that she had, this profound feeling that she had. This 2 hours on this flight answered so much that was in my vortex all at once. They had conversations that Esther could not have looked that stuff up. She could not have found the reasoning behind that. It was like sitting next to Einstein, who was willing to talk on her level about things that she already knows. She just doesn't know why. "That's right," he said, "and here's why." Oh, can you imagine the satisfaction factor that Esther was feeling through all of that? And that's what we're saying to you. There are those pockets of what you want. Imagine meeting someone, looking for a mate, and then meeting someone who not only is in love with you, but is interested in so many things that you're interested in. You would say, "Jackpot." Well, your inner being is leading you to all of those jackpots. But first, you've got to show yourself that you are leadable. First, you have to show yourself that you are decipherable, that you are translatable, that you are receivable. You have to put yourself in the receptive mode because your inner being has been broadcasting to you from the day you were born. The question is, when are you going to be receptive to what is being broadcast, you see? So the answers are all around you. But as you stand in this place, "I can't find them, I'm confused, I don't know what to do." Well, then you can't find them and you're confused and you don't know what to do. But when your attitude is, "I can meditate and I can quiet my mind and I can feel good in meditation and I can get an impulse and I can know an impulse that feels great and an impulse that feels blah," you know how to do this. This is not difficult. But first you have to allow yourself to know that it's all right for you to feel good, and that feeling good is the path to all of the things that you care about. You only need to develop patience if you don't know how to meditate and receive. You only have to develop patience if you're not willing to allow the universe to unfold in the comfortable way that it will to you. You only need patience when you don't know how this stuff works. You're not ever going to need patience again. All you need is 15 or 20 minutes that you can quiet your mind and get into the receptive mode, and then just watch what happens after that, you see. And don't come out of meditation and say, "I didn't get anything, I didn't get anything." Instead say, "Today was the beginning of something really wonderful, and tomorrow I'll be even more receptive, and the next day even more receptive," until it won't be long that you'll be walking along as you often are. Do you know? When you're driving through traffic, often you're in the receptive mode, and you'll change a lane because your inner being thought it was a good idea, and you don't even know you got the impulse from your inner being. So many things that you're doing all day, every day, are impulses from your inner being. So we don't want to imply that you aren't in the receptive mode. We just want to imply that you're there by accident mostly. And that when you do it on purpose, then even when you do it by accident, at least you'll know you're doing it, you see. So what was the answer to your question? Get into the receptive mode. What's the answer to every question? Get into the receptive mode.